Hi there, everybody. I've been asked by Tim Lemon about how do I make these guides and these reviews and how long does it take? Well, it might take a little bit longer than you might expect because what I usually do is it gets to February, March when one season finishes and the next series starts, or the end of one thing. So usually about January, February, March, April, I start recording games for the next series. And that usually takes about 3 months, depending on the games I've picked and when I start to record them. So usually maybe January, February, March, April, I'm recording new games, and that takes quite some time. And it depends on the game. I used to play games that I could play, and they're pretty short. But these days I get requests for pretty long games. So when it comes to things like Elite Frontier and F1 GP and Blade Warrior and Draken and things like that, Secrets of Monkey Island, I might record 5 hours of footage. Dark Seed, I might record 5 hours and then I'll compress that all the way down to 1 hour. And that makes it fun and enjoyable for everybody who's watching that, hopefully. And I don't like to record things that are over an hour. So that takes time. And of course, after I've recorded all those games, I then have to pre-edit them, what I call pre-editing. And that's, like I say, taking however long it's taken to record it and to squeeze that down by speeding some things up and maybe flipping towards the next scene, chopping things out, which I don't really like to do. Um, and usually the pre-edit, I'll go through games at random, a random game that I've already recorded and think, right, today I'm going to pre-edit this, whatever it might be, Fascination, and I'll sit through it for a couple of hours. I'll play it all the way through and speed it up until I've got it down to size, and then I'll do that with the next one. And usually I can pre-edit maybe one, maybe two games at most a day. So when the 25 games, that takes at least a month, and it takes usually a lot more than a month because I don't get around to pre-editing the stuff very often because it takes time and it's very boring. So after that, that's we're up to 3.5 months. And then after I've pre-edited everything, I've got 25, 24 shows, and then I'll pre-edit them all so that they're all ready for narration. And then after that, the research begins, and before I narrate any of the videos, I'll look at, first of all, the Lemon page and the Lemon comments, and I'll also look at Moby Games for all the trivia. I might look at the whole website and Wikipedia and anything else I can find, any trivia about the game before I do the review. And if there are any bits that I really need to talk about in the review, I'll put a green arrow in sometimes on the pre-edit, and that'll just tell me talk about this, talk about that. You can see this now, it's going on. And most of the time I forget, so I'll put the arrows in later. But so before I do the narration, I go through maybe magazine reviews and what the magazines have said. Amiga Power gave this a bad rating because X, Y, Z. It's usually because I've just read it just before I've done the narration, and I'll write down a few bullet points from the Lemon Amiga website that I can look at during the narration. So if you can bear with me, I'll see if I can find my bullet point pages, of which I do have. Oh. And I'll drag that there. And now and now let's have a look at well, not that you can actually read it because it's backwards. Not that you can actually read it because of this thing fading in and out of the screen. So, can't do much with that. So I'll just maybe flip that over. That's driving force. You can see at the top. And driving force, I'll put on the name of the guys who developed that, and then I'll put on the coder of the game and what they went on to, the graphics artist, what they went on to, and then after that, what the music artist went on to, and then after that, I'll write down somewhere the scores. This thing will work. You can see at the bottom corner the scores, which are right down LA, Amiga Action, CU Amiga, you know, that kind of thing, with the average score at the bottom, whatever average score that's got. So I'll write down basically one of them for every single game recorded. Try and get that one, that's Alienator. And so I'll write down bullet points for all of these things. Some of these are Commodore 64 games on here. From all the Commodore 64 stuff, Centurion, Carthage, Hannibal, Caesar. You know, with games like this, they'll fit on one page. So you might be able to see Carthage over there and Hannibal on the other side. And again, right at the bottom, if I can show that on this thing, the scores. So that's what I basically do for every single one. Worthy, Alienator, Switchblade 2, Beneath the Steel Sky, Fire and Ice, Simon the Sorcerer, and it just says design Simon Woodruff, code Mike Woodruff. And then went into Waxworks, Elvira 2, Simon 2, Meet the Feebles. So all those bullet points are there, and then I'll say right at the end, and the scores. AP gave it 57%. The MIG format gave it 70%. So it's just a page of bullets. Bullet points, they call it, before I've even started the review. And then, once I've got the research done and the bullet points, and I've looked at the magazines and the scores, I'll also go to the Amiga magazine rack, because usually, if there's maybe 8-10 scores on Lemon, there might be 15 on the magazine rack, maybe re-releases, or, you know, whatever. So I'll gather all those scores in, and add on top of that the Lemon score, whatever that is, and then I'll average that, and then that's the average score at the end of the review. So once I've written all that down and got myself prepared, I'll then start the microphone, and then start the video, and then I'll start talking over it in real time. And I won't usually quit the video unless I make a right mess of the introduction, and I'll say, hello, welcome to another play guide, this is blah 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 blah. I messed it up, then I might start it again, but usually 9.5, 10 times out of 10 I won't bother, I'll just let it roll, and whatever I made a mistake on, I'll just say it again, and I'll fix that in the edit. So then I've narrated that, say it's an hour, it'll take me an hour to narrate it, and then I have to do that for all of them. So if there's 25 games, you know, usually takes 25 days, an hour a day to narrate all that stuff. And then once all that's done, then it's the time for the post-edit. Post-edit just means afterwards. Pre means before, post means after. So I do the post-edit and I load the whole thing again, play it all again from scratch, and this time I add on all the little bits. The introduction gets put into the start. I go into the introduction file, make sure it moves around, and then puts the correct name on the screen, zooms out to the screen, and then I'll save that up and put the introduction at the beginning of the timeline, and then I'll put on the screen thing will drop down. It's whatever game it is played on, whatever system it is, and that'll drop down at the start of the game, and then I'll put on whatever pop-up boxes, you know, the scores and all the arrows and, you know, things that come up and down. final score, and I'll magazine screenshots sometimes, and I don't know, odd bits of things, scores and numbers and quotes and things like that. Clips from other games. If I'm doing a comparison zone, then it means I have to record, either find them clips on YouTube and just copy them and stick them in there, or it means having to find them, load up the emulator, play it for a second, record it, play it on the emulator, stop the emulator, pause the emulator, load up another one, play it, record it, stop it, play it again. So most of the time I just cheat and download HD footage from the internet. I don't actually give anybody any credit for doing that, and that's a very naughty thing to do. But if I was to record all these games for all these comparison zones, it just takes too long. So I might do a few, or I might do all of them, or I might do none, depending on whatever game it is. And if it's an early game that I recorded ages ago, like Soccer Kid, I'll usually just find the footage on YouTube and just copy that, stick it in. So that's what I do for that. And then during the post edit, that can take ages, because then I'm sticking in little bits left, right and centre, this, that and the other. It takes ages. If I'm doing the pop-up with the names running along the bottom, I have to do the words of the name as it pops up, get that right, get that moving off at the same speed as the words are moving off. And if there's an image, a photograph, I'll have to put the photograph in, get that moving on at the same speed so everything's together, and then moving off at the same time. So, you know, making pixel perfect things so that everything just flows in and goes out and pops in and comes out. It can take ages doing that, to be honest. And it's long and it's boring. So I hate the post edit. It's the longest and the boringest thing. It can take anywhere between 1 and 3 hours until I'm happy with it. And during the post edit, I'll also do the volume balancing, which means playing it again from scratch, going through it section by section, fixing all the little errors, and moving the volume up for that bit and down for that bit and up for that bit and up for that bit and down for that bit, so it's all level all the way across. Because sometimes when I'm doing these narrations, I'll lean over to the microphone so it sounds louder, and sometimes I might sit back and it sounds quieter, so the overall narration goes up and down, so I need to fix the volume all the way through it. And if I'm getting a hoarse voice, which I do pretty recently for some reason, which I'm doing at the moment, it means I have to cut. It means I have to make the volume louder as it goes on, because I'm getting a hoarse voice as it goes on. So it's louder at the beginning and then it tends to get louder at the end. So that's definitely the worst thing, the post-edit volume balancing of the thing. And yeah, there are automatic volume balancing normalizers out there, but I don't trust any of them because they make the narration hissy and, you know, they don't do a great job. So I don't trust those things. I'd rather just do it manually. And then after that, I'll put the end credits in and the names in. And if I've got a new Patreon, I'll have to go to the name site and render that off again, animate that off, stick that in the Patreon names file, and then put the Patreon names file at the end of the review so it comes up with all the names in order. The end music, that kind of thing, the intro music gets put on, the last thing, and then the end credits and that kind of thing. And what I used to do is watch everything through before I rendered it. Now I render it first and then watch it through, and then hopefully it's alright. Usually it is. And usually by that time I've watched the video maybe 8-10 times. I'm bored of it. So I usually don't watch the video again after it's been uploaded. And sometimes I don't even watch it through beforehand and I notice loads of bugs and typing errors. So you might notice on the end credits of every single video that I did last year and every single one before that, at the bottom it says, for entertainment purpose only, on the end credits. And I've only just noticed this week and changed that to entertainment purposes only. Nobody wrote in and told me that their end credits were wrong, but I fixed that. So now next series it should say for entertainment purposes only. So I always get something wrong. Everything's always 95% correct. There's always some bug, there's always some error in something I've said. You know, there's infinite lives, there's, there's a kickback. No, there isn't a kickback. Yes, there is a kickback. Whatever it is, there'll be a bug in there. And somebody will correct me in the comments. So after I've done all that and I've done the post edit, then it's time to render it off. And the render can take anywhere between 1 and 3, 4 hours, depending on how long it is. And I have an i7 processor. I think it's 4th gen. I think it's 4770K. And it was pretty nippy up until fairly recently. And I can't really see why I should afford hundreds of pounds for a new motherboard and a CPU just for a tiny increase in speed. So I've got the old CPU. It takes a long time. And then once it's rendered off, it could be anywhere between 1 and 6 gigabytes in size. And then, as I say, I might play that through and check it through. And if there's absolutely no glaring errors that I can spot in it, no coughing and sneezing and spluttering and that kind of thing, and sometimes I might even leave that in if I'm feeling lazy, then I'll then look at uploading that to the internet. And because I've only got a weedy 1 or 2 megabytes per second connection, that can take, if it's 6 gig, it'll take 2 days. Usually 4 gig can be uploaded in a day, maybe 8 hours. So if it's 8 gig, it takes 2 days, and I have to stop it halfway through, shut down the system. The next morning I'll load it up and the system will crash, and it'll say, your system crashed the day before, restore the the bookmarks. And I'll say, no, I don't want to do that. And then you have to go into YouTube and click on upload again, and it will automatically carry on from where it left off, resuming it. So you don't have to do it again from scratch, and that usually works 9.5 times out of 10. And once that's finished uploading, usually on a Thursday and Friday, then I'll then spend another hour or so writing the description. And this is the game, this is when I produced it, this is when I edited it, this is what I think about the game, this is what I did when I was editing the footage, all the little bugs that are in the system that I didn't bother fixing. I'll put in the notes, in the production notes, and then at the bottom I'll put in a dance score. Or I'm thinking, well, if I was to rate it now and review it, how would I do that? And you might notice that very few of my opinions are in the actual review. So that goes up there and gets scheduled for Friday midnight. So if you had to add it all up, one episode would take about a month on its own, maybe a couple of weeks. So that means there aren't enough weeks in the year to get through all that. That's why I do it all in a big lump, all recorded and all pre-edited and all narrated and then all post-edited, so that I can then render them off. Whichever game I feel like doing at the time, and whichever one people have voted for, it can then go up, prioritised, uploaded, scheduled, and by the time that's done, it's usually at the very last possible second on a Friday that I'm finished uploading it and I'm typing it in. And then, of course, I need to put it on the Lemon website after it's gone online, type something else in for that. If I remember to put it on the Lemon news page, type something in for that. If I remember the Lemon Facebook page, type something else in for that. And wherever else I'm advertising this stuff, I usually forget. And after that, I'm usually exhausted, and it's usually a Saturday and I can't be bothered to do anything else, so I'll just play the Lemon game on the Saturday and take Sunday off and start again on Monday and start with another post edit and do it all again. So I try to squeeze the post edit down to about a few days, and I'll spend the first few days of the week doing that. Editing it, volume balancing it, and then adding all the little bits of things so that I can render it on Wednesday, upload it on Thursday, check it through on Friday. That's scheduling. So each review, well, that's why they recorded a few, well, years in advance. 2016, 2018, 2020, whatever it might be. And sometimes they stay on the shelf for a bit, and then if it's any good, it will eventually get off the shelf and it will be reviewed. There's very few games that I haven't reviewed, that released that I've reviewed or recorded footage for them, and only the small few ones are now being reviews that weren't, that you can check out in the reviews that weren't section. So I have got maybe another 10 or so of them taken from the shoot 'em ups series, but there aren't too many of them to go. Usually I get them out. So if I start recording something in April, then it's going to be June before I start doing the narration, and then August before I start doing the pre-edits, and it's all going out in September. So I'll usually get 8 or 10 of them pre-edited in August, so they can be all ready to render in September, and then the shows kick off in September, and I'll edit another 10 episodes whilst those 10 are running through, and there aren't 10 weeks in September, so that gives me an overlap into November. And then once I've got the 20 done, that means in November I can edit the last 5 and put those out in December and January, and it means I'm not rushing around in January, February putting out the last few. So a year minimum, and maximum maybe 4 years depending. So it takes a full year to turn around one video and get it out online. So that might seem crazy when other people, many YouTubers simply do it live. They put on the camera, they play the game live, you can hear them using the controller live, they play it, they say I'm no good at it, they switch it off, and that's it. 10 minutes, that's all it does. Then they upload that. It's only going to be 400 meg. They upload it within an hour, and so within 2 hours they've played a game, talked about it, uploaded it, and that's it. 2 hours. So mine takes me a whole year compared to those guys. And even if you're interviewing somebody, you interview somebody, you do the post edit to make sure it's all right, take anything out of it, you put something in the background, a still image, and even editing an interview only takes maybe a week at most. If I was doing interviews, but because I'm reviewing games and so many of them, then it takes longer. Because of the research and things like that, and all the post editing and things like that. So I do go to town sometimes and editing these things, and I do get very bored doing it sometimes, but I like to think that the results speak for themselves, and if people enjoy it, and I still get people enjoying the videos, even though the games themselves are getting on the lesser known side recently. Lesser and lesser known. Now that we've covered all the Lotus series, I can't do that again. The Turricans, I can't do them again. The Rick Dangerouses, I can't do them again. So unfortunately I'm getting on to the games that people have never heard about, like Fascination and Fishhead Buddha and things like that. But we'll see where we'll go over the next few series, and we'll see what happens. So if you want to check out more, I'll be uploading how I edited my Batman the Movie review, re-upload, remastered version of that, which I created I think in 2016, and I've also recorded the making of the Worthy review, which I recorded live at the time of recording that. And you might find that interesting because I'm talking to you while I'm trying to edit the video, and that's what I call the post edit, where I'm doing the volume balancing and talking over that. And you might notice some of my narration in that chat went into the actual review where I'm talking about it. So that ended up going into the review after all. So that's as far as I can take this video. thanks for listening, and I hope to see you again in another one sometime soon. Thank you.